Welcome back to another Tennessee Holler Facebook Live here. We're going to be joined by Torrey Harris over in Memphis. How are you, Torrey?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are you?
TNHoller.com is where you can find us at the TN Holler. We're also in Memphis, Murfreesboro, Chattanooga, Knoxville, Harrogate, Cookeville, Tri-Cities, and we're even in West Virginia. And that's all because of you all. So thank you all for the support. If you have a few bucks, give it to Torrey. If you have a few more, give it to us. We survive on your small dollar monthly donations, as I know Torrey does too.
Yeah, so the website is Torrey Harris, Torrey Harris, HARRIS.com.
And Torrey, you're in Memphis. How are things going in Memphis?
Pretty good. The weather's really nice out here. The polls are rolling. The lines have been very, very long, but that's okay because everybody is actually staying in the lines.
They just had an incident where a Memphis poll worker was fired for turning away voters for wearing BLM and I Can't Breathe t-shirts, hats. What did you think about that?
For someone to turn an individual away for the shirt that they had on, and it didn't have anything to deal with a actual candidate, I think the decision to actually remove them from that polling location was the best decision. We can't hold people back from voting because you don't like a shirt that they have on.
I'm glad that that was handled. I know Rep. Parkinson was on it. Rep. Parkinson is one of the people that you would be serving in the legislature with. What are people focused on? What's your race been about in your mind?
Our district finally having the ability and having somebody who's actually going to communicate with them, who's going to represent them to the best of their abilities, who's going to be available.
Right. Accessibility, which the guy that you're running against has not really been accessible. I've had a few run-ins with him. One thing that is very notable about your campaign is you're running as an out gay man in Tennessee. How has that been?
It hasn't affected my race anyway. So I think it's just part of who I am as a person. What we want to see in any of our representatives is decency. Somebody who is a decent person, believes in supporting issues that the people care about. And that has nothing to do with age, sexual orientation, or gender. It's really just about what actually people want to see happen in their communities, how we can better the lives of people that we want to represent.
A refreshing change. You're running against Representative John Deberry, who has been a Democrat in name for years and years. He was just recently kicked off of the ballot as a Democrat, not as many people say because he's pro-life. That is one of the things, but it was because he was against the Democratic platform on so many different levels, from vouchers, reproductive freedom, voting against protesters, LGBT rights. What did you think of the decision to remove Deberry from the ballot?
So I ran against Representative Deberry in 2018, and I lost by just a small margin. And the decision that was made by TNDP has nothing to do with me or the race, and so I can't change the decision that they made. I do support the decisions made by elected officials. They're elected by the same body of people who put representatives in office. Of course, they made that decision, and I'm still running against Representative John Deberry at this point. We're just going to keep on running.
All right, that's a very political answer. If you're going to be running under the protection of the Democratic Party, then you need to at least agree with them on a few things. He's funded by Republicans. That's something that people need to know. So much of his money comes from Republicans, and there's a reason for that. He agrees with them on so many different things. We saw him stand at the Shelby County Republican Party and essentially wink, wink to them that he supports Donald Trump. I called him to ask him about that.
Do you support Donald Trump?
No, I do not.
How do you reconcile that with what you said to the?
I do not have to reconcile it.
Won't let someone else name the members?
So this is him standing at the Shelby County Republican Party saying, go on and let someone else name the members of the Supreme Court, very clearly implying to this group of Republicans that he wants Donald Trump to sit the next Supreme Court justice. It wasn't the only thing that he said.
Do you support Biden?
No, I do not. I do what I have done my entire career: stand in the middle and work out consensus. I have never stood up. I didn't stand up to support Obama.
I don't support Biden. I didn't support Obama, presenting it as though it's some medal that he wears around his neck.
Very proud to say these things as if he's not representing a full voice of 65,000 people. You're killing babies. We need to fight against people who are doing this. And he made it very clear that this wasn't the first time he's been there with them. His version of what working across the aisle looks like has not worked for so many people. We have people that work across the aisle, a Leader Camper, we have Representative Stewart, we have all these representatives that have to work across the aisle in order to get things done, but that does not decrease your ability to have values and to be able to represent your district. Looking back at his bills and whatnot, most of them have not been bills that truly affect District 90. Most of them have been bills that only affect himself and help push further the platform of the majority in the state of Tennessee, which is the Republicans at this point.
Working across the aisle doesn't mean abandoning your principles and being a pawn for the other party. Those are two very different things. Again, there is a reason that Deberry is funded entirely by Republicans. He adopts their positions. There's a reason they love him so much. There's a reason they're running ads for him and against you. And he also says he doesn't support Trump, but here he is sitting with Trump, talking to him about his voucher program.
I put her in a private school and we paid tuition because
He's sitting there with Trump talking about vouchers. Steering public dollars to private schools is not something we support as a party. And it's very clear that even though he wants to hide who he really is, he definitely wants to wink, wink, nod, nod to Republicans and make it clear that he's on their side. It would be refreshing to have somebody in there that doesn't do those things. You got a pretty good shot here. Let's say you win. What are you going to focus on when you get up there? Have you thought about what the priorities are going to be as far as legislation that you want to carry or sign on to?
Obviously, we only get about 15 bills that we can actually create and put forward. And those are going to be surrounded around public education. Our teachers pay wages for our people all together across the state of Tennessee. I really am going to be focused on in the criminal justice area when it comes to the elimination of cash bail. We have to finally make it there. We have to have additional people fighting to expand Medicaid in this state, ensuring that there's actually a voice and that someone is actually speaking loudly for women's rights. We're going to win this race together. So I'm excited to work with people in the district to make sure that their voices are heard and that we actually write legislation that improves their lives and not hurts them.
It'll be refreshing not to have John Deberry up there. I've watched him do his thing for a long time, and it's been really frustrating to watch him talk in circles, to imply things without actually saying them, to speak passionately about the things that Republicans care about while pretending that he's fighting for the things that Democrats care about. It's mealy-mouthed, frankly, cowardice, which I told him later on in that conversation. And it'll be nice to have someone up there standing for the things that they say they stand for.
Definitely hold us accountable.